In the previous lesson, we learnt how to play the major 7 chord type in 5 positions across the neck. The focus of the next 2 videos will be on the remaining 2 7th chord types, dominant 7 and minor 7 chords. In this lesson I will show you how to play a dominant 7th or just 7th chord in 5 positions, using the CAGED system for guitar. This will give your standard chords a more bluesy quality. To keep things simple, every example in this lesson will be played in the key of G. However, once you've learnt each shape, it's very easy to shift each chord to any key by simply starting on a different root note. Let's start with position 1 of G7, which will use our E shape. If you're familiar with your standard open 7th chords, then this process will be very easy. All you need to do is place your bar down starting from a G root note and then drop an E7 shape on top. This is the same as if you were to shift an E7 chord up, including all the open notes, until you arrived at the correct root note, in this case, G. This is position 1 of G7, however most guitar players tend to remove these 2 notes, giving us this very easy to play G7th chord, which would sound like this. Next, we will be learning position 2 of G7 by using our D shape. To visualize this chord, all you need to do is move an open D7 shape up, including the open D string, until we arrive at the G root note. Although once you know this, it's far quicker to simply find the correct root note, in this case G, and then place the D7 shape on top. This would give us position 2 of G7 using the CAGED system, which would sound like this. Next up is position 3 of G7, which will use our C shape. This one is very easy, as all you need to do is play a traditional open C7 chord and shift it up until we arrive at the G root note. If you want to play this chord quickly, however, just visualize the desired root note, in this case G, and attach the correct shape on top, giving us position 3 of G7 using the CAGED system, which would sound like this. Be sure to give this video a like or comment below if you're learning something today. But let's move on. Next up is position 4 of G7, which uses our A shape. To play this chord, we simply need to visualize an open A7 chord and shift it up, including all the open strings, until we reach our G root note. Once again, you should visualize your G root note and place the correct shape on top to access this chord quickly. This would sound like this. And finally, position 5 of G7, which will use our G shape. In order to play this chord, we first need to visualize an open G7 chord. We can now shift this shape up, including the open strings, until we arrive at the G root note. However, this time we're going to remove the notes on the low E and A strings to make a much easier and nicer to play voicing, which would sound like this. You should play all these chords in sequence to become fully acquainted with each position, and then start the whole sequence from a different starting note, like A for instance, to get used to playing these shapes in different keys. Feel free to like, subscribe and ring the notification bell for all future lessons. See you in the next one.